Cimo! Hi, welcome.
I'm back for more torture. I'm back after last week. I have no idea what I'm in for this week, so can't wait.
You're in for unique torture. Yeah.
Unique
Actually,
torture. What would you call the other videos we've done? If this is unique torture, I'm just curious.
Oh, I think I would call them generic torture.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good. All right. So I'm glad I'm learning your flavor of torture methods. Fantastic. Great.
This is a very unique one for me because it's a little out of my expertise, but I've been studying, I've been training, because this is the long-awaited, fan-requested, much beloved first episode of Cimo Meets Modern. We're going to show you the modern format of Magic the Gathering. That's right. The modern fans have been begging for it, so we're going to do it here on the CovertGoPodcast, which is available on Apple and Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Remember to check out those places where you get your podcasts and subscribe and leave a review over there. And also, because we are, in fact, on those platforms, we have a special sponsor for today's video, and they have some quick words for you before we dive into the nonsense. Cool Kids Club. Today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. More from them later in the video. So, Cimo, do you know anything about the modern format in Magic the Gathering?
I know that it's not standard. I know that it's not legacy. I know that it's not vintage. So I'm assuming it's not commander. That's another one. So it's somewhere in between all of those, I would imagine.
It lives. Yeah. You know what? I know a similar amount of things, to be honest.
Good. Okay.
We're right there together. I've been watching videos and reading articles and trying to prepare for this. I've watched almost every Modern Pro Tour, but kind of as a spectator without trying to absorb all the info. But Modern it's famous in Magic for being a non-rotating format. And it was a non-rotating format that was created outside and far away from Vintage, which, of course, and Legacy, which are the very, very old formats that play very, very old, super expensive cards. The whale formats, some would call them. But
that's just Yu-Gi-Oh!
So when Magic the Gathering was growing, of course, it used Standard, which only used the most recent sets. And then it used a format called Extended, which it rotated like Standard, but way less often. It had a huger card pool, but it still rotated. And Extended would eventually go away. I doubt we'll actually do serious Extended videos. I played the format a long time ago in my youth, pursuing dreams of pro excellence, but
you don't still have those dreams?
Not exactly. It's not the same. Extended was very much a format that kind of went away, faded in popularity, and isn't played anymore. But modern rose to become one of the most popular formats in Magic the Gathering, and at various times in Magic history has been called the most popular format in Magic the Gathering, and it's still a pro format today. That's right. I think it was. Yeah, I think there was a time in, I would say let's say from 2011 to 2015, I believe Modern was on the rise, and probably somewhere in that 2015 range was the most popular format in Magic. It had a really cool metagame with a lot of very powerful stuff that I think you'll enjoy.
I think it's interesting because I think I may have snuck a peek of a Pro Tour or two back then, because I'm thinking back because that's when I first started making YouTube videos, which is crazy now. I think I may have seen, just because I admired the production value of the Pro Tours, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't have that. We didn't start getting really good coverage. I say really good. It's still nothing compared to the Pro Tour coverage. But we didn't have that for our game necessarily. A lot of it was just written articles at these main events. And so really we only got the World Championship, sometimes the National Championships, but now they start streaming all of our Pro Tours, which is nice. So I remember just admiring the production value for a card game, right? So, and I've heard that some people say Modern is a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 in the sense that it's faster than your typical Magic experience. It's not as crazy as Vintage or Legacy per se, which is more like Yu-Gi-Oh! 2, but Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 seems to be it's a faster version of Magic that makes it feel more like a Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 sort of game, which is when people have said that piqued my interest for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely different from standard, although now standard, I keep saying, feels closer to modern. And it's changed a little bit over the years.
That's power creep. That's what we call power creep.
Yep. We are. So those of you super excited about getting your modern deck shown to Cimo or something like that, we're taking it a beat at a time. Modern's a big format with a great history. We're going back to 2011. We're going to the start of the format. We're going to be covering some of the cards that made waves early in the format. We're also going to be looking at cards from the initial ban list to see if you can identify them.
God. Okay.
And we're going to be looking over basically the first year of Modern is what this video is going to focus on. And I think that there isn't a better place to start our video than this card right here. And your job is very simple, Cimo. Was it ever banned?
Ever. Got it. Okay.
In Modern.
In Modern. Wild Nacatl? Is that right? Nacatl? Okay. It's 1 green for a 1/1. When it gets a +1/+, or sorry, it gets +1/+, as long as you control a mountain, and it gets +1/+, as long as you control a plains. I'm assuming that doesn't stack, correct? So it's just like if you have multiple of either, it only gets the +1/+. You seem to have the 1. Yes? Because it would say for each otherwise.
That's correct.
Okay, so if anything, it could be a 1 mana 3/3 potentially. If this is like turn 3, obviously, unless you have a way to ramp into some way to play this like turn 2 and have 3 lands, which could be possible. You're already starting off with a banger here. We're in what's the stupid bonsai tree orb thing you showed me last time?
They're an orb.
Yes, that thing. We're in like that territory where like this card on the surface looks awful. Or not awful, but like bannable? Like really? We're going to ban a 1 mana 3/3 that's like meta warping in Magic the Gathering? God, that's where our games are so different, I feel like. It's like something like this would get banned in your game, but then our game, we just like laugh.
Nobody said this was banned. What are you talking about?
But see, like,
that's
okay, I'm already in the mind games.
Out.
You and I have done this for so long now that I'm already in the mind games of like, you're showing me this either because I need to figure out how many layers above me you are here. Because you're either showing me this because I'm going to think it's bad, and so it was banned. Or you think that that's what I'm going to think, so you showed it to me thinking that was my thinking, so it's actually not banned, and it's bad. Or maybe not bad, like maybe it's just a fine card. So I need to figure out if you're on level 2 or level 3 with this one to start. And you know what? I think you're on level 3. I think you've known me long enough that you think that I would think this is not good, but it's probably banned because why else would you show it to me? So I'm going to say it's fine, not banned.
Interesting. I am going to give you a little more context because if I don't, comments are going to be like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Okay. So we played Commander together, and I believe turn 1, you cracked a fetch land and went and got a breeding pool.
Well, first I got the wrong card, and then I got the breeding pool. But yes.
Or Overgrown Tomb was another
I'm learning what the cards are, okay? I knew I had the color combo. I just had to find it.
Right. So there are lands that are both a mountain and a plains. And
okay.
These parts of the mana base are legal in Modern as well as the fetch lands.
Okay, so hypothetically then knowing that, you could go like turn 1, play one of those lands, so then you have let's say you have a mountain forest, so you could play this turn 1, so it's already a 1 mana 2/2, and the next turn you play the plains on turn 2, so now it's a 3/3 on turn 2. I'm still not buying it. I think that's fine.
Okay, not banned is your final answer.
Not banned.
Wild Nacatl has a long history in Modern, and when combined with the fetch lands that have the multiple types, definitely raised its personal ceiling and power level. I'm going to read a quote from your friend and mine, Louise Scott Vargas, from the I hope LSV is doing well.
I hope the kids are doing well.
Yep, MTG Hall of Famer. This is a quote from an article on the magic.gg site. Look through the Modern and the Pro Tour, a look through history is the article. It came in very handy in my research. It says, quote, I remember playing the first Modern Pro Tour and playing a zoo deck that had Wild Nacatl and counter spells.
Okay, so we're splashing some blue in there too. Interesting.
Which is kind of crazy. I picked this one first because I want to give you an idea of the mana-based capabilities of the format.
I appreciate
so you
that.
could Yep, you could have Mountain, Plains, a green source on turn 1 for your Wild Nicottle, and then blue mana to play counter spells to protect the Wild Nicottle and just beat the opponent to death.
Was that good enough to get it banned?
It's time to talk about War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made and is available now for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. You take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to fighter jets and battle tanks of today. Immerse yourself in the intense combat of War Thunder, where incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects place you right at the helm of the most powerful war machines of our time. Join a worldwide community of over 70 million players in epic PvP battles today and delve into the breathtaking experience that is War Thunder. With an unmatched wealth of high-quality content to discover, there's simply no game better suited for fans of military history. War Thunder now has an all-new mobile version available on iOS and Android, allowing you to take the controls of the battlefield wherever you go. The mobile version features intuitive controls, impressive graphics, and the familiar massive multiplayer warfare in dynamic ground and sea battles with air support. Drive any tank and fly any aircraft with nothing but your mouse and keyboard or a controller, even in simulator mode. I enjoyed combat flight simulators on PC as a kid, and War Thunder blows them all away. It is amazing to me that they can fit this many features and this much detail into one game. And best of all, you can now play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. Just make sure to use my links in the video description or pinned comment to sign up. If you make a new account and haven't played in the last 6 months, you'll receive a massive bonus pack with lots of goodies for PC and console to give you a head start in the game. Besides 3 premium vehicles, you'll also receive a 50% experience and income booster, 2 advanced vehicles for rent, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account time, along with other goodies. The offer is available for a limited time only, so don't forget to claim it now. So click that link today, Mesa Falcons, and now, back to the video. Well, it wasn't good enough to get it banned in the beginning.
Oh, no! They banned it! No way! It's that good? There's no way.
I mean, that's arguable. So Wild Nicottle was in 2011, when the format was launched, became one of the hottest, most terrifying decks around, because it did feel like you were so far ahead with a turn 1 3/3 that you then protected throughout the game, and that kind of tempo seemed to block out most 3, 4, and 5 mana spells. Now remember, the format is new, and people did treat it at first like they wanted to play like their old favorites, and in standard 4 and 5 mana spells were normal, and in Modern, the format was both super fast and super powerful, and the tempo, right? The tempo of being able to just protect a cheap threat seemed to block out a lot of decks. So Wild Nicottle was banned in December of 2011.
That's insane. That's insane. You showed me that one card from the cons video where, what is it? It's like the 1 mana red card with haste and prowess, I think. Mm-hmm. That seemed like, obviously, I don't know how much further along that was printed compared to this, but that seemed like way more threatening than this card, in all fairness. But that's card games. That's card games.
I'm going to vindicate you slightly.
Okay.
It's not going to take the sting out of being wrong on your very first guess in Modern, Cimo. You're never going to live that down. You might have to sign a Wild Nicottle someday.
I might. But just like you signed Pot of Greed. Yeah, that'd be great.
I sure do. God, I do. All right. Wild Nicottle was unbanned in February of 2014.
So, you said it got banned when?
It was banned in December of 2011.
It took 3 years, like 2. Let's be out 2 years to get unbanned. That's insane. Oh my God.
That's pretty quick in Magic terms for a ban. That is, yes. I don't know of anything that's been banned and unbanned within a year in Magic history. Check me in comments. If you know one, let me know.
Because in Yu-Gi-Oh, we've had cards banned and then unbanned and then rebanned on the next, like, 3 subsequent lists. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like maybe of some of those initial ban lists, cards that were banned when a format opened, some were unbanned within, like, a few months or something. But as far as a card that got banned on its own announcement, then unbanned within 2 years, pretty rare in Magic. Very rare in Magic.
May we take a quick detour?
We can.
I'm gonna hijack. I'm gonna snatch steal your video. You remember this card, right?
Snatch steal. It's a spell card.
This is one of the first ones I showed you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this
is
just you take it and you steal your opponent's thing and you keep it permanently until they destroy it or the monster, and then they gain 1,000 life points each turn. So in Magic, that means they would gain what's an eighth of your life, like 3 to 4. So they gain like 3 or 4 life per upkeep, like as long as you keep the card. So this card was banned very early on. It got unbanned in 2014, 2015, whenever Duelist Alliance format was. They unbanned it for 1 format. People hated this card in the format so much they rebanned it on the next list.
So that's like a month or 2, something like that. That's crazy.
It's like 3 months, I want to say. It was like 3 months it was legal, and people were... This card was so game determinative for how powerful it was that people were like, please reban this card. And they did. They actually rebanned it. And so I just wanted to, give you a testament of like how our ban lists work. Funny enough, this card is legal again at 1 copy, but it's not nearly as bad as it was 10 years ago. Still a very good card, though. Still a very good card.
That's a glorious oopsie. I'll give it that. That's a very glorious oopsie.
I just want to use some insight into our banning philosophy in our game, relatively speaking. We have no issue banning a card immediately after it gets unbanned.
I don't mind all this context. It's going to make this all the more fun. Let me show you another card.
Bitter Blossom. It's cool art. 1 and a black for a tribal I don't think I've seen a tribal enchantment before. What do I need to care about that?
Yeah, a little bit. A tribal enchantment is a different type of its own. So tribal is, what do they call it? A super type? Again, they'll correct me in comments. But like enchantment, artifact, creature are this type, and then tribal is another version of that type. And what it means is this card effectively is what the type line says, which is fairy. So if you had a card that says search your library for a fairy card, in the past it would only get creatures, you can search this. That's right.
That's kind of cool. So it's like that's kind of Yu-Gi-Oh actually, because Yu-Gi-Oh remember with like, we've done some videos before where you understand like the name of the card is like part of the active game text, right? That's like very Yu-Gi-Oh, where you could like search not monsters with your tutors that are like named essentially. So that's cool. I like that. Anyway, this says at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and put a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying into play. Oh boy, here we go again. Okay, so every turn you're losing a life, but you get to put something into play. It has flying, which is good because that's a way that you can just always hit in with things. And you're getting it every single turn. This is mandatory, right? Like you can if you're on 1 life, you have to pay this and die.
If you're on 1 life, you have to pay this and die. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. Just want to double check that the mechanics there. I guess it's kind of like mana cheating, right? It's like you're paying life to get some guys, and then if you have either ways to like protect this, like you're always like constantly putting pressure on the opponent, especially because they have flying. And granted, you have to wait a whole turn for them to be able to attack. It's always like the threat is always there. And as you know from our commander games, I have no issue using life as a resource. So like I could see this. Like this to me looks like a much better card than the other thing. But was it banned?
Mikado, put some respect on that banned kid.
I will not respect that card. I'm sorry. This card I actually will respect though. I think this like if you open this in the early stages of the game, I mean you have to wait till at least turn 2 most likely to play this. But like turn 2, turn 3, even turn 4 if you're firing this. Not to mention, does tribal enchantment preclude it from having multiple copies like a legend rule or anything?
It does not.
Okay, so hypothetically, you could have multiple of these. So if you go like turn 2 Bitter Blossom, turn 3 Bitter Blossom, now you're getting 2 things a turn for 2 life. And that's like way more pressure and aggression. That seems pretty good. Ban-worthy? They banned the fucking Nicodle. Like, I mean, they could have banned anything at this point.
Oh, we came out swinging today.
You did. I will give you credit. You do a much better job compared to Rarin for like, tying everything in from start to finish. Because, you told me about the shock lands and like all that stuff. So I always have to applaud you for that.
Thanks.
Would this be ban worthy? Like turn 2, turn 3. You could still play Nicodle on turn 3. This only costs 2. Imagine the pressure, CGB. Imagine the pressure. So you play.
Dude,
no. Hear me out. Here's the play. So you shock in a like green-white land on turn 1, and then you play your Nicodle. And then turn 2, you shock in a white-black land, and then you can play your Bitter Blossom on turn 2. Then turn 3, so now your Nicodle's a 3/3. Then the Bitter Blossom on your third turn gives you a thing. Then you play another Bitter Blossom and another Nicodle. So now you have 2 3/3s, and you have a 1/1 that's going to give you, and then you're going to get 2 1/1s every single turn. I don't know, man. That might be too good for Magic. I don't know. Crazy.
And your own life total is like 5. It's perfect.
You'd still be at 17 at that point. You'd be at 17. You have like 7 damage worth of creatures. One of them has flying, so you can probably get in. If you have like some buff spell, because you're in like white or green, you like pump everything up.
He doesn't remember that shocklands hurt you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, you're on 2, 4, 5. You're on 15, 13 on the next turn. You have the Nicodles. They're 3/3s. They'll kill everything. You win the game. Then just play some blue, and then you can counter everything, right? That's the whole plan.
Why not?
Then you're playing all 5 colors at that point.
Sure.
You know what? Ban it.
Ban Bitter Blossom.
They banned the Nicodle. Ban this. I think this is better than Nicodle, and I thought that was banned. So I'm going to say they banned this.
I love the bar that we've set. So Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom came out in 2008, and in Lorwyn Standard, I did not play this format. I was busy trying to make my own business work and had no time for Magic during these couple years.
You were playing with your Zuron orbs or whatever.
That was a long time ago. So I tried to do some research on the Bitter Blossom format, and it does seem very familiar of get down a Bitter Blossom and then protect it, and then just get this free resource every turn, counter big things, take over the game that way. And the theory that I have is that the architects of Modern wanted this new format, this non-rotating format, to feel different than that standard format.
Sure, that makes sense.
And Bitter Blossom was an outlier in that format. It was never banned in standard, but it was on the initial ban list for Modern in 2011.
Yes!
They said no to 1/1 fairies for 1 life every upkeep. And you might feel really good about that. You might feel really good about that, my friend. But do you still feel good about it when you find out that in the same announcement that unbanned Wild Nicodle, they unbanned Bitter Blossom?
I mean, sure, why not? Hey, why'd I get a thumbs down? I got it right.
Because I got it wrong. I'm just kidding. You get thumbs up. They don't see that.
They don't. It doesn't matter. They don't realize that we keep track of the score behind the scenes. Because we have to see who's winning.
We're competitive gamers. Okay?
We are competitive gamers. We are. Even if it just comes to a 50-50 and 10 cards or whatever you show me, we're very competitive.
It's honestly stuck in my head that Voxy, when sitting across from us, just said we're the same person.
A lot of people said that. They said like you're like my Magic equivalent and vice versa. It's funny.
Oh yes, good.
Yeah.
Then I'm in good company, but hard to beat.
Although this was banned briefly, and then so it was never rebanned after. Like after 2014 you said, I think after that it was just always legal, right?
Yep, it's been legal. It remains legal. You can play it right now in Modern, and people who play current Modern are laughing about that.
I think it's a good card. I don't know if it's like good enough to see modern play. Weird to say, but like for older Magic, like this seems like just like a powerhouse of a card. I could see like now that I know more about Magic, I feel like I see a lot of the utility behind this. And again, it's sort of like mana cheating, right?
Yeah.
But I like the design of it. The art's really cool too. I really like the art.
I played a ton of Commander decks. I love it in Commander. It's
Yeah,
just
you have 40
always
life.
have a
It's even
flying
better.
blocker. Yeah, yeah, and you always have a flying blocker, whatever the opponent's up to. They're
Yeah.
always like, yeah, who has blockers? You always do. It's great. It's a wonderful thing.
And they have a sack outlet too, potentially every turn. Like, I mean, there's some cool stuff you could do with this. It's in black.
I had an evil plan, but where to continue it?
An evil plan.
Yes.
You?
Here we go. We're building the foundations of Modern with you here today.
Lightning Bolt. This is 1 red for an instant. Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. That seems pretty good. I feel like a lot of the stuff you show me is like 2 damage for like 1, or if it's 3, it's like it usually costs 2, or there's like some other thing it does, but you're also paying 2 for it. And maybe that's like why? Because like maybe this is too good, so they banned it, and then they had to like make other things.
In Alpha, Lightning Bolt is one of the originals.
Oh, this is like this is an OG card. Oh, I didn't realize that.
It was part of a cycle. The cycle is for one mana at instant speed. Each color got something that felt.
Oh, and
right
blue
for
got
their
Ancestral
color.
Recall.
That was going to be my punchline. Yeah,
That's
that
funny.
was it.
I put it together. I put it together. Give me some
you're
credit.
really good at this.
Well,
really
you
good
said
at
1
this.
mana for something that does 3, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that blue Ancestral. That's the first thing that came to mind when you said that. Okay. 1 mana for 3 damage. That seems pretty good. I'm not sure how prevalent, like, we've talked about this some in my videos. I don't know if we've talked about it a ton in yours, but, like, burn in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not really a thing. It kind of was, like, in older Yu-Gi-Oh! And, like, historically, there have been times where burn has been a rogue pick and, like, snuck in some wins here and there, but it's never was, like, the best thing you could ever be doing. So I'm not sure, like, in your game, maybe, like, this is very good in a burn deck, potentially, because it can go creature or player, so that was my thought. But even so, like, 1 mana to deal 3, if you don't care about just going face with it, that still seems like a good rate. Like, this seems like a really good rate. I don't know if it's too good, but again, like, the things you've shown me, I feel like they do less for more mana. Or if they do the same, it's like 1 mana to do this, like, similar effect. And maybe it gives you, like, a little bit of an extra bonus or something. So maybe they banned it?
Let's talk in the context of what you've seen already. The shock lands, the fetch lands, the life total going down just from taking game actions.
Yeah, so if everyone's already, like, lowering their own life total anyway, it's like they're burning themselves. Because you need to pay 1 for the fetch. You need to pay 2 for the shock. So they're already going down 3 potentially per turn. Although they probably change that game plan really quick when they see that they're playing against burn. But sometimes you don't have a choice. Like, if you have hands with fetch lands in them, like, you have to play them most likely. You could just bring in the stuff tapped, I guess, to, like, mitigate that. But it still doesn't feel good. You're helping the burn player in that regard.
It kills Wild Nicodle.
You're right. That's very important. But it got
Very,
banned, so it doesn't
very
matter.
dangerous.
You've shown me 2 banned cards in a row. Would you show me 3 banned cards in a row? They said they wanted it to feel different than standard. Was this legal in standard at that time, or am I not allowed to know that?
That's a good question. Lightning Bolt hasn't been legal in standard in a long time, like the Dark Ages. I think, like, when did Magic 11 come out? The last time Lightning Bolt was legal in the standard.
Would that be 2011, or does it not go based off the year?
I don't think it goes based off the year. That would be way
That'd be
too easy, dude.
That'd be way too easy.
I mean, honestly, that's a
We
really
also
good
said some
question.
of these cards are getting banned in 2011, so that's the other reason I thought that.
Yeah, finding the right answer to that. So this was last printed in a standard set. Is that a standard set? Are you a standard set? These things are tricky. They're not as straightforward as you'd think.
Yu-Gi-Oh's the same way, so I believe it.
Yeah, Magic 2011. What year were you? And that's where you have to zoom in and read the tiny print. That's hard. That's 2010. Wow.
Yeah, this card you showed me says 2010.
I'm actually stunned by that. I'm surprised. Again, I wasn't playing standard at that time.
Sure.
But I'm like, wow. So Lightning Bolt to me is like my day. And I really didn't think it continued after that.
Okay, so that was like the last time it was legal in standard. So based off the philosophy you told me that they want it to feel different than standard.
Keep in mind, that's my theory, buddy. That's
your theory.
I'm trying to make sense of the world I see.
Well, they banned Zurin Orb CGB, so anything's possible at this point.
They did. They probably to make Lightning Bolt good.
It's kind of weird because if they wanted it to feel different, if it was legal, like when Modern started in 2011, you said?
Yes.
If they wanted it to feel different, everyone had been playing with it up until that point. But then it's not playable in standard after a time? Again, that's if it's going based off your theory.
Yeah.
Maybe the other thing I'm thinking of too is maybe the other cards you've shown me, it's like because it's not legal in standard, they have like the cards that like pay homage to it that are sort of like it, but just not as good, but it's still legal in old formats. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Does that all the time too.
Yeah, that sounds like classic card gaming.
Yeah. Because it's like, ooh, we take away the thing you love, but we're going to give you a different one, but it's sort of like it, but it's like it's not exactly like that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been doing that a lot recently. I don't think you're going to give me 3 in a row. I think this card was not banned. And I think this standard was differentiating itself because this card wasn't legal after a time. So they're like, okay, this card's fine because we're not going to like ever print this card again. That's going to be my theory.
I think that's a good theory. You're right. Lightning Bolt was never banned in Modern.
I was right. Oh my God.
Yep. You're right. Lightning Bolt is legal to this day in Modern and is a staple in a number of decks. It
seems like a good rate.
Yep.
Yeah, it's taking out like 2. It can even take out 3 drops. Like some 3 drops have 3 toughness. Like that's 1 for 3. We take that all day.
I'm struggling to relate to this as a blue mage, but Lightning Bolt is beloved, and I don't think we'll ever. Yep, I don't think it'll ever be banned in Modern. It's always kind of been there as a part of the format, and yeah, the fact that people reduce their own life total and use it as a resource so aggressively in the format also means that Lightning Bolt is really good at what it does.
This also just feels like a card people like to play.
A lot of decks turn into burn decks that are unintentional burn decks because they have a way to like end of turn Lightning Bolt you, untap, recast a Lightning Bolt from a graveyard with a different card that you may learn about someday. And and then they're just dead, right? So tricks like that happen in Modern all the time. Lots of decks are secret burn decks in Modern when they have to be because of Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt lives, Lightning Bolt remains, Lightning Bolt strong. But is this card fine in Modern?
Mental Misstep. What the fuck is that? Oh, I guess it'll tell me down here. It's an instant. I don't know, maybe if you showed me this before. If you have, it's been a while since I've seen it. That can be paid with either blue or 2 life. Okay, so it's free. I'm in. Counter target spell with converted mana cost 1. So you can counter the Lightning Bolt. You can counter the Wild Nakatl. It's over.
Again, these answers to this banned cat are so they're everywhere.
Here's a dumb question. Does this like mana symbol, is this a mana cost of 1?
Yes, it qualifies as a mana cost of 1.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if there's like weird rules with this. So that's annoying then, because then if both of you are playing blue and you both have this card, then this becomes like a situation where like who has more of this card if you're trying to get stuff to resolve. Because then it's like you play Thing and they go like mental misstep the Thing, and then you can mental misstep their mental misstep, and then you could literally keep. There's a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's very similar. I think I showed it to you actually. You can't use it to like from your hand immediately. It's a trap card, so you have to have them set for a turn. But we have wars where like you just keep countering the same card over and over again. Whoever has like more of them wins the war, essentially. The difference is we have to pay half our life points to do that, where yours is only paying 2, which is way better. But we can counter anything with that card. This is only a mana cost of 1, so there's a big difference there. But that card got banned. That card was banned actually for a large part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, and then it came back. And I remember people were like freaking out. I actually think I showed it to you. I'll pull it up really quick. Hijacking your video again. What else is new?
I mean, I think they're getting.
I actually think I showed it
to
you. I think I showed you this card. Let you see it real quick.
Oh yeah, Solemn Judgment. Yep, you showed me this card.
Yeah,
yep. When
you
a
love this
monster
card.
would be summoned or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life to negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy it. Yep,
it's a very blue card. Very blue card. Also, this has, because it's a counter trap, it is, I haven't really gone into this too much, but it's spell speed 3. What that means is that you can only react to this card with other counter traps, essentially. So it's like, it's not only a trap card that you can react to your opponent, they can't use their other trap cards unless they are also counter traps. So yeah, people would get in the Solemn Judgment Wars very frequently with this type of card.
Yeah, we have something like that with Interrupt back in the day, and then Split Second was something that tried to do that as well, where you could only interrupt it with other things of the same style.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Judgment's at 3 now, though, but for a long time in Yu-Gi-Oh! It was actually banned. It came to 1, and people were like freaking out because they're like, whoa, this card's crazy. And then it still sees play today, which is really cool. So this could be like a similar situation where maybe it's like the Bitter Blossom or the Nakatl, where it got banned and then they unbanned it later on once like the power level of Modern went up, that it wasn't as big of a deal, but like early on, maybe it was just like way too good. Only having to pay 2 life is a really big difference, but it seems like Modern, you're playing pretty low to the ground in terms of like the cost of your things, just because it's a lot faster. So I'll go with that. I'll say it got banned. And maybe it got unbanned later on, similar to those other cards. But definitely, I could see this getting banned for the same reason Judgment did, for sure.
Mental Misstep was banned from format inception.
Really?
Absolutely. Yep. From format inception, no mental misstep allowed. On top of that, this card basically, I am confident, will never be unbanned.
Really?
Ever.
So it's still banned? Wow.
Ever. Still banned and never unbanning. Something you may have missed.
Oh, you were waiting to say that.
Because mental misstep is a blue card, and it certainly makes sense to play it in blue decks.
That's why it's banned.
But it does not have to be played in blue decks. You could have no blue mana symbols in your whole deck and still run Mental Misstep.
I think I did
to
that just
counter
completely.
Opponent spells.
Yeah, that just completely slipped my mind that you don't even have to play this in a blue deck. That's crazy. Yeah, I think I assume because the symbol was blue still that but it doesn't say that on the card. So reading comprehension, Yu-Gi-Oh player. What else is new?
Yeah, in Commander, we've got that color identity restriction, but in 60-card formats, you can put a card in your deck you can't cast. That's legal. That's totally
cool.
fine. And in this case, would every deck have 4 mental missteps?
Probably. Yeah.
Yep. And 1-mana spells are just so important to the speed of Modern that, mental misstep, I don't believe will ever be unbanned in Modern. It's been banned from day 1, and I don't think it will ever be cast in the format.
So if you're playing Commander, though, you have to be playing blue to play this card, whether or not you would. But because of like the color restriction thing, you would have to.
Yep, because of the rule of color identity in Commander.
Got it.
Yep,
okay.
you have to have a blue commander to play Mental Misstep.
So this could have been like what you're saying with LSV, right? Where it's like you have the Nakatls or whatever, and now you have Mental Misstep to stop their like mana cost 1 cards, and you don't even need to be playing blue, right?
Oh, it could have been that. Yeah, that would have been so much worse, dude. That would have been
terrible.
I
imagine. Yeah, like that would have been crazy then. You like deny them their turn 1. This is very Yu-Gi-Oh though, I will say. Like this is like being able to do this on your opponent's first turn is like, this is very Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm into this. Even though it's banned, so I'll never get to do it, but I like that.
Now we're going to progress along the Modern path towards some of the earlier cards in Modern that basically... Modern in the early days, I think they had a vision for it as like this mid-rangey interactive format. And what it actually turned into was very much like a combo format. And
that's so funny.
I mean, it's eternal, right? I'm sure that as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, like something gets printed that turns a card from back in the day into a combo piece, and away you go.
Yep.
And in the beginning, I feel like they tried to fight this, and as time went on, it kind of became obvious that this was the way of the world. Anyway, we're going to start touring some of the combo decks in Modern, and you can tell me if or when the pieces I show you ever got banned.
It's funny you say that because in our retro format, Edison format, which is like sort of what I would liken modern Magic to, just from like seeing this type of stuff. It's actually going through a very similar like moment right now where new cards don't get printed into Edison format. Like it stops at 2010. And that's like it. Like whatever that last set was in Edison format, like we're just playing from there to the cards from the beginning. So it's like 8 years worth of cards, right? But similarly, everyone loved it because it was very like a very mid-rangey, like lots of like interaction back and forth. But taking modern deck building and putting it to Edison, people have figured out these crazy combo decks that are starting to like slowly take over potentially. So it's just very hilarious hearing you say this.
Yeah, dude,
the parallels are striking.
We're in a time loop, man. We're just
we're
two of the people of the same type from different multiverses clashing together.
Pretty much. Glimpse of Nature, another very cheap card. 1 mana, it's a sorcery. Cool art on this too. Whenever you play, I know exactly why you showed me this. What? Whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. What card does this sound like, I wonder?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Well, it's not instant speed, so that's a big difference. Also, you're the one that's playing it. It's not your opponent. So it's not Maxi. It's very different from Maxi.
But I mean, I did want to know a Yu-Gi-Oh player's take on this card.
It costs 1. It's whenever you play a creature spell. So you have to play this. Then you have to play at least something to make this break even. And then from that point, everything else you play. Okay, here's a question. If you play cards that like produce tokens, do you draw cards off of those?
No.
That doesn't give you anything. Okay, so there are some guardrails on this. So you have to... what about stuff from graveyard?
No.
So it's only from hand.
So it's old templating. Let me just check really quick, but I'm pretty sure that I know what's going on here. So yeah, it says whenever you play a creature spell, but the errata would be whenever you cast a creature spell. So there are ways to cast a creature spell from the graveyard if the creature has like escape or somehow gains the ability of escape, but it's not normal. Yeah, right. Usually what happens when you reanimate a creature is you cast a reanimation spell, right? So not a creature spell. So this is when you cast a creature spell. Okay, yeah. So this is like much worse Maxi, which is like the biggest analog that I can... Is there any card in Yu-Gi-Oh that like when you play stuff, you draw a card? There are, but they usually have once per turns on them. Like they might be a continuous effect and you could do it every turn, counting the opponent's turn if you take the actions to do so. I'm thinking of stuff like Supply Squad. There's like some other effects that like let you get like extra cards. But they're pretty heavily restricted in terms of like how much you can use them. This has some pretty decent restrictions on, especially because most of the stuff has to come from the hand. Not that you can't, cast stuff out of the graveyard, but I feel like that's a lot harder to do in your game. Maybe this is fine. Maybe this is fine. So I'll go with it's not banned. This is not banned. Okay. I'll say it's not banned. I'm going to show you another card. Oh, God. See, okay. I don't know if it'll change your opinion. I just want you to know about this card. Heritage Druid. 1 mana. God, everything's so cheap. 1 mana, 1/1. Tap 3 untapped elves you control. Add green, green, green to your mana pool. So can you... add green, and if there's ways to like untap the elves, you could theoretically like just keep giving yourself mana. So you could sort of go infinite on mana, which means Glimpse of Nature keeps drawing you cards for the turn if you set up this combo. And then you can keep giving yourself mana and just keep assembling like a giant board. And then you can't attack with anything, but like unless they have a board wipe, they're basically dead. Is that the combo? I honestly feel like Heritage Druid might be the more oppressive card here than the Glimpse of Nature. Because that seems like the thing that's enabling the infinite combo. But I guess you can say that got... Yeah, you can say something else got banned if you want to. It's because it's like, unless you have the infinite mana, and I think you and I have talked about this before,
unless you have the infinite mana, you drawing a million cards only gets you so far in your game. Where like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's vastly different. So yeah, I'll say the Heritage Druid's banned, to be honest, and the Glimpse of Nature isn't. That seems like way more oppressive to me.
Okay. Let's go back to that extended format I talked about.
Okay.
One of the I don't know if it was the last. I'd have to look that up exactly. I'm pretty sure it was one of the last extended Pro Tour events that happened was in Berlin in 2008. And the tournament was dominated by your friend and mine, LSV.
Hell yeah.
And I believe it's one of the only times somebody went undefeated through the whole tournament. I need to double check that. I swear I heard that it was like wall to wall undefeated. Double check me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Tell me which one, but I thought it was this one. All right. Elves, extended elves with Glimpse of Nature and Heritage Druid and the number of 1-mana elves in the format. If you were able to play like turn 1 Heritage Druid into Glimpse of Nature, or just turn 1 Mana Elf into turn 2 Heritage Druid Glimpse of Nature, and then continue to use the mana from the Heritage Druid to play more and more elves, drawing more and more cards, it was very reasonable to draw your deck and win on turn 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. It was absolutely wild. Basically once you got all of there were so many cheap elves, basically that was part of it. Like the density of cheap elves was very, very thick. So, and there was another card called Wirewood Symbiote that untapped mana elves that would let you do more stuff.
Of course.
And there were Summoner's Pacts that gave you a free tutor. There was all kinds of ways. And you would draw your deck, you would cast all these cards, and then you would play a card with Storm that just did 1 damage to any target for each spell you cast this turn.
Oh, just don't.
And that was just it. Yep. And that was just it. So that deck ran that extended tournament. Just absolutely crushed it in 2008. And from the get-go, they didn't want that particular deck to be a problem in Modern.
Sure.
And Glimpse of Nature was on the very first ban list in 2011.
Okay.
And has never been removed from it. It is banned to this day. It's interesting. I really thought from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Like special summoning thing that this card would look absolutely bonkers. It's really interesting. Like you surprised me on this one.
It's like I said, I feel like because you need the mana to do stuff with the cards, right? And so if you can draw all the cards you want, but if you can't play them, what good is it? Right. So like I feel like card draw is so different in our games for that reason that I remember when we played our Commander games, I would be drawing card after card after card, but I can only deploy so many of them. Right. And I remember often having to discard down to hand size multiple times because I had a grip of like 12 plus cards in hand. And so like to me, that's why the Heritage Druid seems way more oppressive. I mean, granted, you could play Glimpse of Nature in like so many other decks. Then I don't know. It kind of just seems fine as long as there aren't the enablers to get the infinite mana. But I think at that point it comes to the philosophy of like, which card do you prefer to have in the game, I guess. And so I guess them hitting Glimpse of Nature. Hey, you can mental misstep Glimpse of Nature. So I'm just saying, if they unban both, everything's fine, right? They have outs. Then they have outs.
Maybe that's part of why they had to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Glimpse of Nature, just because of the vast amount of like cheap creatures, I think, just enabling those early kills and the elf thing, like, and how dominant that deck was when it was legal. It's like, I guess it's like they're like, we're gonna kill it.
Can I ask this? Is Force of Will legal?
In Modern?
Yeah.
Is Force of Will legal in Modern? People are going to laugh at me. Or at this time was
Force of Will legal?
I don't believe it's legal in Modern. I think it's a legacy card.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it is not legal in Modern.
Got it. Okay, because in my mind, if this type of decks are existing, you would just play stuff like Force of Will and such to like just stop it from comboing off. And then when they can't combo off, they just die. Or like you're just in like a much better position. So that would be like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player brain perspective on this, but obviously we have different games. Again, mental misstep and stuff would be like legal too in that thinking. But
well, we had to start looking at combos somewhere to like really figure out the combo format of Modern, and this is our first look at a combo deck, which is basically Glimpse of Nature and a big old pile of elves. Pretty straightforward.
Sure. Pretty straightforward.
And they resisted it to the point that they still don't let it be legal. Let's check out some other combo pieces, and we can talk about them.
Sword of the Meek. This is a 2-mana artifact equipment. The creature gets +1/+2. You equip it for 2, and whenever a 1/1 creature comes into play under your control, you may return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to play, then attach it to that creature. Interesting. Do I get to see more combo pieces, or am I just looking at this first?
This one, I think, this one wouldn't be much in a vacuum, right? So we gotta show a few more.
Thopter Foundry. This is a white or a black and a blue. Very funny. For an artifact. For 1, you can sacrifice a non-token artifact. Sacrifice a non-token artifact, okay? Put a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying into play. You gain 1 life. So you can pay a mana, sacrifice Sword of the Meek, get a dude, and then the dude is a 1/1. So then you can immediately re-equip Sword of the Meek and attach it to it. And you could theoretically, as long as you have the mana to pay for Thopter Foundry, you could just keep doing this infinitely. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yep. It's only limited by the amount of mana you have, and you gain 1 life per cycle and 1 ETB.
Yep. And from what I've seen, it does not seem like it's hard to get infinite mana. Or you may not even need infinite mana. Like the fact that you can just get a ton of value off of this just like seems good. They have flying, so that's nice. They can just, like, hit in. They're also slightly bigger if you keep the sword on it. Huh. This is very... God, the parallels. There's a card that is so similar to Sword of the Meek that I don't want to show you in case I show you in a later video. That's what it reminds me of. For everyone wondering, it's Phoenix Blade. But I don't want to spoil too much more besides that.
All right, I won't look it up.
Yeah. You better not. We're pretty good with that, though. We're pretty good with, like, when we see stuff in the comments, we kind of, like, avoid looking up what it is, I feel like.
And thank you for all your comments, but I just immediately, like, run out of the room and hide in a dark room so that I can't read it.
They can name stuff, just don't, like, elaborate on it, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I feel like... God, am I going to be wrong again? I feel like the Thopter Foundry is the more oppressive card here. Like, obviously, you need... I don't know if there are other enablers and stuff, but, like, the fact that... I feel like Sword of the Meek, unless there's other cards that combo with it, I feel like it's only good because the Thopter Foundry exists. But I feel like the Thopter Foundry could be used for, like, other decks for, like, other things as well. Because, like, the Sword of the Meek otherwise is just kind of, like, whatever. But, like, Thopter Foundry just seems like a way better standalone card that enables the bullshit with Sword of the Meek. So I think my guess is Thopter Foundry got banned and Sword of the Meek is fine.
Okay, that's interesting. Because actually it's so it immediately got me asking the question. I'm not sure. I'm straight up gonna try to Google it, but
I heard you typing.
It's actually the opposite. Yeah,
so Meek is banned, but Thopter
Sword of the
Foundry's
Meek got banned.
Interesting.
And
okay.
This is going back to the beginning of the format, August 2011. The initial ban list, Sword of the Meek was on the ban list, and Thopter Foundry was not. And in April of 2016, so it took a while, Sword of the Meek was eventually unbanned as Modern leaned a little more into its combo-ness. So why not Thopter Foundry? That's an interesting question. Google is immediately confused, and even the AI doesn't know what to do with that, or as to why that
the
in
AI
particular
doesn't
one
know.
had to
Whatever
be
will
banned.
we do?
Yeah, it's just, oh my gosh, how will we know? So that's interesting. I guess I didn't think about which one should be banned. They're both together very frustrating, but it also so I found one thing that says Thopter Foundry is decent on its own and works well with a card called Retrofitter Foundry. So it can be part of another deck it provides a value combo that's not nearly as clean or oppressive as the Sword of the Meek combo. Okay. So I think that's what they decided to go with, because at least Thopter Foundry had a little bit of a different home. Also, the other thing that came to mind, Sword of the Meek is colorless mana, and Thopter Foundry has specific colors, making it more restrictive what decks Thopter Foundry goes in. So that probably had something to do with it. If you know why, if you have not a theory, but leave me a comment. I would love to know from somebody who does Modern more, or like has had these debates, why they think it was Sword of the Meek and not Thopter Foundry, because it's very important to Cimo here, because I actually got that one wrong, which is very frustrating to him. And he would love some vindication from people saying, obviously it's Thopter Foundry. He would absolutely appreciate that.
I know all the Yu-Gi-Oh players are going to laugh at me because I made the Phoenix Blade comparison, but I think, I don't know, Thopter Foundry just seems like one of those cards that there's other ways to abuse it, where Sword of the Meek sort of feels like it relies on this like one particular card. And maybe there are others, but like, I don't know. I see what you're saying about it being colorless with Sword of the Meek, that like you could theoretically play it in anything. And that like definitely restricts like how good Thopter Foundry is from that regard, but interesting nonetheless.
Let's do another. What do you think of the combo? It's going to be fun. There's so many combos.
Well, we're already on such a great track record with these.
We're having a blast. Here you go.
Yeah. Dark Depths, Legendary Snowland. Dark Depths comes into play with 10 ice counters on it. That's a lot. For 3 mana, you can remove an ice counter from Dark Depths. So 30 mana in total, okay? When Dark Depths has no ice counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, put an indestructible legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying named Marit Lage. I don't know how to pronounce that. Into play.
Marit Lage, Mary Lage, like things like that. I think it's still up for debate.
It's a 2020 flying indestructible. That's all I need to know. Okay, sick, cool. What are we comboing this with? What removes all the counters on it immediately?
That was really quick, huh? Weird that you could come up with an idea to remove the counters from the card. Let's talk about this.
Weird. Vesuva. This is another land. As Vesuva comes into play, I wanted to say like Vesuvius. You may choose a land in play. If you do, Vesuva comes into play tapped as a copy of the... I get it. Okay. So you copy this, but it doesn't have the counters on it, so you immediately just sacrifice it then, and you get your big guy on the field.
Yeah. That basically, you blow up the land, and there's your 2020. But let me make it even simpler for everybody at home.
Vampire Hexmage. This is some art. 2 black... for a Vampire Shaman with first strike. Sacrifice Vampire Hexmage, remove all counters from target permanent. Okay, so you have multiple ways to trigger this. I see. Because you can just sacrifice it immediately. You don't have to tap it or anything. Here's a question. Are there other ways to tutor Dark Depths, or do you have to, like, get Dark Depths? Like, raw?
So was crop rotation legal in that format? That's a good question. Let me check. Crop rotation is a card that is like a land tutor, and it's very popular. Is it legal in Modern? It is not legal in Modern, but I know one that is. Yeah, there's a card called Sylvan Scrying. That's what it is. And that is a 2-mana sorcery, and it lets you search your library for any land.
Okay, so there are other ways. You don't have to hard draw the Dark Depths. You also have mulligans in your game, too. So
that's right.
If you're trying to combo with this, you could just mulligan down until you get your 2-card combo. Where Yu-Gi-Oh, we can't do that. Which is why our decks, I think, like you always talk about how crazy consistent our decks are, where everything gets everything. It's because we don't have mulligans, right? I think Yu-Gi-Oh would be extremely different if we did have mulligans in our game. But we're like one of the few games that doesn't, which is really weird. Anyway, so turn 1, you do this. Turn 2, you play one of your other things. Well, you can't Hexmage on 2. You'd have to Vesuva on 2. You could Hexmage on 3 if you have 2 black mana on the following turns. So turn 2, turn 3, roughly. You get your 2020. It has indestructible, so your opponent probably doesn't have a ton of ways to interact with it. But there are ways, because if you like bounce the Dark Depths with like a bounce spell, this is kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing where there are ways around it potentially, especially if you're on like turn 3, turn 4. I guess if you're playing against the right decks though, because like blue would probably have outs to this. Would the other colors have outs to this? I guess is the question. Maybe, but I could see some of the other colors like struggling to deal with an indestructible 2020 for sure, especially early stages of the game. God, I'm like in between if this is like a Timmy combo or if this is like actually real and you just dome your opponent and kill them on the following turn. It's like one of those things where it's like if they don't have the out, they just lose. And it's possible. I guess the alternative is what? They have like Bitter Blossom and they get to actually defend with a flyer. Or if they have Thopter Foundry, they can defend with a flyer because it doesn't have trample or anything. So
right, just brick them. Yeah, of course. Just block them with your fairy. Oh, wait, that's banned.
Oh, wait, that's banned. You're right. I forgot. Well, Thopter Foundry's not, so you can make your little blue Thopter artifact with flying. So there you go. I found the out.
Nice.
I don't like that this was like this. I think it's probably consistent enough that you could probably do this very early on, and then it really would boil into like, do you have the out for this? And I think people would really hate that. Especially if this is earlier. I feel like later on, maybe if there's more answers to stuff like this, or the game is just faster that like this isn't as good, then maybe this, like maybe it's an example it got banned and then they unbanned it later.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, if you could have a turn 3, whatever your life total is, 8,000 attack, that was indestructible, or whatever the equivalent is, would that be good enough?
Well, we'd have that on turn 1. The game wouldn't have gotten to turn 3.
I see. So, good to know. Okay, cool.
Which is why we need to have a billion hand traps in our decks to be able to stop that from exactly happening. It's funny because like our things, I've shown you things that are not 8,000 damage or not 8,000 attack rather, but they have more than indestructible. They have like indestructible hexproof and then like discard a card to counter target spell all baked into it. Right. So like I've shown you things way worse than this in our opinion. But this is Magic. You guys are, I don't know. Some of your cards are questionable in terms of how good they are.
Okay, buddy. Is it banned?
Yeah, I'm not coming here to throw shade, but like some of the things you're like, this is crazy. We kind of like laugh at. Not gonna lie.
At least we have honest card draw.
That's true. You can hold that over my head until the end of time because we're never gonna get good card draw ever. I could see this being very annoying. I do not think draw the out is like a good enough answer to this. I feel like early on, people get very frustrated just losing to this and they have like no way to interact with it. Unless it was so format warping that people started building their decks to not lose to this. But even then, it's like the way your guys' game works is just not the same. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, we just have so much interaction in the early turns that we could stop stuff like this. Like your game doesn't. All the time. Anyway, I'm going to go with they banned it. I think it might be unbanned now because there's like way more cards in the card pool and there could be a lot more outs to it potentially, which kind of goes against everything I just said. But there also could just be way better combo decks that you're playing compared to this. Like who wants to play Dark Depths in 2025? And maybe I'm wrong. But I can see them banning it and unbanning it.
People actually do like Dark Depths and play it a lot in Legacy. But in Modern, it is banned and has been since day one of the format. Nobody has been allowed to have their 2020 Merit Lage in Modern. Which
is it still banned?
Yeah, still banned.
Oh, still
Never
banned.
Unbanned.
Wow, I'm shocked. Okay, I got that part wrong.
They said no way. You had it right with the color. Like some colors can't deal. Like red can't do anything. All right. Sure. Green can't do anything. Blue, no problem. White, no problem. Black, difficult. But there are at least 2 colors, and then every color combination of those 2 colors in every deck that exists that relies on those colors, just dead. Like,
and that's where Yu-Gi-Oh is so different
because by Dark Depths.
Regardless of what deck you're playing, hand traps are generic for the most part, so you can play them in every deck. And so there are some that are a bit restrictive, like as of late, that are like more for particular decks. But in any case, some decks even have their own hand traps, like as part of the archetype. So that's where it's so different, right? Where we have so many ways to just interact with stuff like this, especially in the early stages, that doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be banned, but it's a lot easier for us to like stop the big thing from happening. And so with your game, it seems so different. I could see this definitely being a menace for sure. Although it doesn't have menace, haha.
It's a bit of a problem.
I'm learning.
I really want to know what you think of this.
Dread Return. This is very funny and I have no further context aside from this. There's a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! That looks exactly like this. I just want to show you just for fun. You don't have to read this. I'm probably never going to show you this to you, but this is what it reminded me of as soon as you showed me this.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
It's like the same card. Like, what the hell?
Green Quasar is,
it's bad.
the
You don't
art
have to
is
read it.
kind of identical. Yeah, I will put it on screen for the visual audience.
Just for the visual, yeah.
Okay.
But the head is almost exactly the same. That's very funny. Anyway, boomer alert. Sorcery.
So this card is bad, right? Because it looks like this bad card.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's
right. Return this is a sorcery, by the way, for 2 and 2 black, so it's 4 all in. Return target creature card from your graveyard to play. Flashback, sacrifice 3 creatures. Whoa, that's expensive. Okay, I guess questions are, is Reanimate legal?
Is Reanimate legal in Modern? No, it is not.
Okay, that's a good start, because why would you play this when you could just play Reanimate? Makes sense. Same thing happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! We banned like the best Reborn cards, and then they gave us worse ones, and sometimes we played them, and sometimes we didn't. It's from your graveyard, so it's only yours. You can flash it back for sacking 3. Okay, do I get to see the other combo piece, or do I just evaluating this in a vacuum?
You need to see more for this one? That's interesting. I'll show you a card. I'll show you.
You're so generous.
I'll show
so
you
generous.
a card. Very simple card.
What the fuck? Narcomoeba?
Uh-huh.
It's a drug jellyfish.
A
One in a.
It's not. It's an illusion.
Looks like a jellyfish. That's
Type
like
line drug jellyfish.
They injected like cocaine into this jellyfish. Anyway,
Type line coked up jellyfish.
Coked up
continue.
jellyfish. Yep, that's. I'm gonna start signing these shortly, I imagine. 1 in a blue for an illusion jellyfish. Not really. With flying. I would hope so if it's an illusion. When Narcomoeba is put into your graveyard from your library, you may put it into play. Put into your graveyard from your library. You may put it into play. Okay, so you bin it. You can just play it. You don't have to pay for it, right? It's free.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you mill it, if you put it from your graveyard into your graveyard from your library.
I'm making sure.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think newer
no
cards
cost.
it would say like no cost. Yeah. But maybe I'm wrong. So what's the play? You have some card that mills a bunch of these jellyfish, and then you get to dread return something, and then you can sack the jellyfishes and get like something else. Am I putting it together? That seems bad. Or like, unless you're dumping something else, like maybe you have a card that dumps like a bunch of cards that aren't just like the Narcomoebas. Because like we have a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's banned and will never come off the list. It does something like you get to dump like 5 cards specifically to the grave. So you could dump like, a bunch of the jellyfish plus like the card you want to bring back, or 2 cards that you want to bring back and all the jellyfish. And then you dread return, bring back 1 big thing, and then sacrifice all the Narcomoebas that got summoned off of this and get back the other thing. And it's like some 2-card big combo that wins you the game. I can see it. I can see that. Do I get to know any other combo pieces, or is this it?
I mean,
Or are there plenty of cards that do what I'm describing?
What you're describing is definitely a strategy.
Okay. But you have to do this on turn 4? I guess you could maybe ramp if you're in green a bit, or if you have like a card that's black that like gives you extra mana for like life or something. So maybe you can do it sooner.
Why
so you'd
turn
have to
4?
play. Huh?
Why turn 4?
Because that's how much. Oh, I guess you could just flash back Dread Return, like, and you don't even have to play it the first time. You just get a big thing. Yeah, that's true.
If it somehow got in the graveyard, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I said, so you have some big thing that mills a bunch of cards that you get to pick what to mill, and then the Narcomoebas come back, and then you flash back Dread Return, and then you just put out the big thing that you want to, like, actually kill them with, or that, like, wins the game for you. I guess what I'm asking is, like, how cheap are the cards that, like, mill this stuff to the graveyard? Because I'm trying to figure out how quickly you can do all this.
So, there are... do you remember Golgari Grave Troll?
I do! I love my friend Golgari Grave Troll. He's great.
So, I'm just going to throw out there, that's one of the cards. Since I've already shown it to you, I'm not going to do the modern, like, was it banned dance?
Sure.
Golgari Grave Troll was on the initial ban list.
Really?
Then, yep.
I can see that, actually.
It's on
Milling
the initial ban list for
crazy.
modern. But let me double check facts. I didn't have this one open, so let me make sure I'm right. So, yep. It's on the initial ban list for modern, Golgari Grave Troll. It was unbanned in January of 2015. It was banned again in January of 2017.
That's funny.
It didn't make it. So that Golgari Grave Troll is a dredge 6. You can replace any draw step with dredging another 6 cards. But Golgari Grave Troll is far from the only dredge card that was printed. If for some reason they went on a little heater with some dredge cards as a mechanic back in Return to Ravnica Wizards of the Coast. They really got into this. And there are other cards that are legal. An example here is Stinkweed Imp. The only relevant text is that it has dredge 5.
Sure, that's a lot.
So that is a card that's legal in modern.
Do I get to know the payoff for what you're bringing off with Dread Return?
You could almost make up whatever monster you want. So in modern times, I've shown you Thassa's Oracle, which says you win the game if you have no cards in your library.
Okay.
And in past times, I've shown you Grizzlebrand, which pays 7
he
life,
was
draw
legal?
7 cards.
Oh, God.
This is a modern legal card.
Okay. I mean, he seems pretty good.
But yeah, come up with a big bad in the history of the game that you would like to get on the battlefield, and Dread Return can enable that with some help from friends like Narcomoeba and a few other cards that have similar effects.
I feel like you're showing me this, and you're going to tell me like the Narcomoeba got banned and the Dread Return is fine. Because without the ability to get the free stuff on the field, like, there are other ways to get free things, don't get me wrong, but if there's no other card that does like what Narcomoeba does, where it just immediately puts itself into play, then like Dread Return is like still good, but it's not part of this like immediate combo of just like getting into like big thing, right? Then at least it takes like a degree more of setup is kind of like the perspective I'm looking at it. And in my mind, we would also just ban Yu-Gi-Oh! Would just ban the card that like sets this all up in the first place. Like, so whatever painful choice equivalent that you have that mills stuff, like the Golgari Grave Troll, like we would just like ban those things, because that would be like the bigger problem, because it would enable more stuff like this essentially.
Sure. I thought I said it. I'm going to say again, there are more effects like Narcomoeba.
Yeah. Which means that you would have to ban even more cards in that regard, where you could just like ban Narcomoeba and Dread Return is fine, because like then the cost is actually more significant, like marginally, or you just ban Dread Return and they can't do the combo at all. I don't know. I think Dread Return is like a fine card. I feel like almost the Narcomoeba is like the more oppressive one. Because like without Narcomoeba, then it's like you just have this like overly costed resurrection spell that there could be other ways to abuse, sure, because you can like flash it back. And you're in black, they want to sack their stuff anyway. But if you're not able to do it instantly, like who cares? The game's like slow enough that that's fine, I think. Fuck it. Ban the cocaine jellyfish. That's where I'm at with this.
Ban the cocaine jellyfish.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Man, I hate it when you're right.
What? Really?
But thank God you're wrong. No,
oh,
man, Dread Return,
that's mean. You're welcome for the thumbnail for this one. Oh my god.
Oh, Dread Return was on the initial ban list.
I gotta write that one down. That was good.
Oh, Dread Return. Oh my god. Yeah, this card is insane. The idea that you can build a deck that's whole focus is to flip itself over and it has the payoff, like it gets the payoff by dredging, is what makes Dread Return so good. Because yeah, you never want this in your hand. You mill it as basically part of the milling dredging experience.
Sure.
Flip the cards over, get stuff out. And I mean, hopefully the editor doesn't make me look like a jerk. I tried to let you know there's other ways to like just attack the opponent to death. Cards like Bloodghast, whenever you if it's in your graveyard, whenever a land enters the battlefield, Bloodghast enters the battlefield. Prized Amalgam.
Just other good graveyard stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Prized Amalgam is a free 3/3 if it goes into your graveyard, but something else comes out of your graveyard that turn, like the Narcomoeba or the Bloodghast. So you can play a dredge deck, and people do. People love dredge. You can imagine, they adore dredge. You can play a dredge deck that just makes a bunch of 1/1s, 2/1s, and 3/3s and attacks with them, because for free. Sure. But when you throw in Dread Return, on top of that, they get access to the biggest, worst, and nastiest that Magic the Gathering has to offer at any given point in time.
Sure. I guess in my defense, I should have asked if there were other things like Narcomoeba, essentially. Because if there's plenty of other things, then hitting the Narcomoeba doesn't solve the problem. I was just assuming this was like a unique thing. So if there's other things that get you there, then yeah, I think you have to ban the Dread Return. That makes sense.
Yep. Dread Return is banned from day one, never unbanned. Probably never, in my opinion, will never be unbanned.
Because I've also seen so many resurrection spells that you showed me, and they're just all like overcosted versions of Reanimate or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, well, we have those and they're fine. So I kind of was going off of that philosophy, but I get it. I mean, if the whole deck, looking at it all in totality, it makes sense. There's just so many ways that you can just do this. It doesn't matter, but cool.
All right. It's time for the member berries.
Oh, God. Oh, Ancestral Vision. I think I do remember this. This is bad Ancestral Recall. It's blue. Couldn't figure that out. Suspend 4 for a blue. And so rather than play this card from your hand, you pay a blue and remove from the game with 4 time counters. Beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter, and then when you remove the last one, play it without paying its mana cost, and you get to, shockingly, draw 3 cards. So it's draw 3 cards in 4 turns.
Yeah.
What else? Is this it?
Do you think it got banned?
Do I get more context, or am I evaluating this one in a vacuum?
Okay, let's see. If I were to play this in Modern, how would I play this? This is actually very good foundational, because this is going to give you an idea of how to look at all suspend cards in Modern, because this is, as always, Magic players just cheat. That's all they do.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh players, we're good at that too. Yeah.
They don't want to wait 4 turns for a nice reasonable payoff. They want to cast cards that let them do the thing when they're not supposed to do.
This would be unplayable. Yep. Bloodbraid Elf. This is 2, a red and a green, with a haste on a 3/2 Elf Berserker. And Cascade. When you play this spell, remove cards from the top of your library from the game until you remove a non-land card that costs less. You may play it without paying its mana cost. Put the remove cards on the bottom in a random order. That seems like a very fun mechanic. So I'm getting here. You play Bloodbraid Elf. You go to the casino, and if you hit Ancestral Vision, you just get to immediately draw 3, right?
That's right. You get to cast things without a mana cost off Cascade if you hit them.
See, that makes me think Bloodbraid Elf is the problem.
Interesting that you say that.
Because, with Ancestral Vision, I don't know how long the games go, but I feel again, by Yu-Gi-Oh standards, this is be way too long to just draw 3, which is funny, considering what Yu-Gi-Oh is. But because I imagine there are other things you can abuse with Bloodbraid Elf that are not just Ancestral Vision, that you can just cheat building your deck in a certain way. So,
what a weird thing to say.
Oh God, you have more to show me?
I do, actually.
Hypergenesis. This also is a suspend card, but this one is you suspend it for 3 for 1 and 2 green. Starting with you, each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card from their hand onto the battlefield. Repeat this process until no one puts a card onto the battlefield. Yeah, this seems like a Bloodbraid Elf problem to me. I'm going to be honest with you. Because, like, unless there are other ways to cheat, I guess I should not make the Narcomoeba mistake. Are there other things like Bloodbraid Elf that can also do this?
How to answer?
Or is that giving away too much?
At the time, not many.
Yeah, this seems like a banned Bloodbraid Elf one to me. Because the other cards aren't as, like, I feel like you're not playing the other cards unless you're playing Bloodbraid Elf. Because you're trying to just cheat these out, 100%.
Going with it?
I'm sticking to my guns on this. I got nothing else to say. I think this clearly seems like a Bloodbraid Elf issue to me.
And the other ones were not banned.
If you're saying there's not many other cards like Bloodbraid Elf, then I just don't feel like they're worth it. I feel like they're just way too slow. Like, it depends on the format. Like, if it's a slower format, then, like, maybe you can get away with playing them. But if you're trying to cheat them, which all card game players try to do, then you get rid of the enabler, and that sort of puts these other cards in check. So, yeah, I would say, like, if it's you and you're playing blue and you're making the game go on for 4,000 turns, then you probably love Ancestral Vision. That's fine. But that's playing fair Magic, right? And we're not here to play fair Magic. So I think you ban the Bloodbraid Elf.
Bloodbraid Elf was banned.
Woo!
In 2013. Actually, on the initial ban list was Ancestral Vision and Hypergenesis.
Oh, they were both on the initial bit, so they all got banned.
They all of these cards spent some time being banned, all of them. And Bloodbraid, I honestly believe that they wanted Cascade more than suspend cards at the beginning of the format. And then I think they changed their mind because they printed more Cascade cards. Like, this card arrived a year later, which is basically Bloodbraid Elf, but 3 mana.
Oh, it's 3 mana instead. Yeah, so you can play it sooner. Yeah.
Yep.
You play them in the same deck, too. So...
You asked if there were cards like Bloodbraid Elf. Some people are going to roast me because they're going to say that there were Cascade cards, but there weren't many like Bloodbraid Elf. Bloodbraid Elf is amazing because it came with a hasty body.
Having haste, too, is big, yeah.
Like, this was an example of another Cascade card in the format, Violent Outburst. This is 3 mana. The text is largely irrelevant except that it cascades. But
but it's an instant. You can do it on your opponent's turn.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Good catch. In decks that were built around the suspend cards, you would just build with no cards that it could hit other than the suspend cards.
That's a fun deck building mechanic, though. I like that.
Yeah, and it is really popular. So there are other decks in Modern. I'll show you a few things that are not banned that people love building around with Cascade effects. So here is Living End. Living End is a version of a card called Living Death, but with suspend. And this is an absolute board flip. Check that out.
This is pretty cool. Yeah. You suspend it, but who cares because we're cheating it out. Each player exiles all creature cards from their graveyard, sacrifices all creature they control, and puts all cards exiled this way onto the battlefield. That rocks. That's cool.
Yeah, it makes for a fun deck that's still legal in Modern to this day that tries to discard or cycle a bunch of creatures in the early game that are very expensive and then cascade into Living End and put them on the battlefield while blowing up the opponent's board.
Very Yu-Gi-Oh! That's very Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, it's a delightful experience, but it's interesting how they tried to manage this experience. They banned Ancestral Vision, which is arguably, and I think correctly, one of the worst ones. It's just 3 cards as opposed to massively flipping the table compared to what these others do.
Too. Yeah.
It's all So Ancestral Vision was unbanned at the same time as Sword of the Meek in April of 2016. So Ancestral Vision is currently legal in Modern. Not really.
I'm not shocked. To be honest.
Somebody's going to leave me a comment about their Ancestral Vision deck. I believe you. I just haven't heard word about it in a long time, okay?
Sure.
Bloodbraid Elf, unbanned in 2018. So now part of the format.
Relatively late, yeah.
Yeah, kind of amazing like that. Violent Outburst, which I just showed you as another spell, and notably because it's an instant, exactly because you said can be done on the opponent's turn, banned in 2024.
Oh, they recently just banned this. Okay.
Yep. And Hypergenesis, my friend. You mean you can get Omniscience for free and just never pay for anything for free?
I mean, you also need to have it in your hand, right?
The Omniscience? I mean, yeah, but there's just all kinds of cards that
there's just big
if
stuff.
If they cost 7 or more mana, Grizzlebrand I showed you, Atraxa is a card that comes to mind. But yeah, it's just like your thing is bigger than their thing. You kind of win on the spot. Hypergenesis has never been unbanned. It was banned from day one and never unbanned.
Interesting.
So that's a look at kind of the Cascade combo decks, and anytime you see
that's a cool mechanic.
Yeah,
I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh has anything like that.
Suspend plus Cascade. People love to do it. They love
even
cheating.
Just Cascade in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Weirdly, they love free stuff. Like, have you ever heard of this free thing? It's kind of a big deal.
Hey, I like free, so you're hitting all the right notes.
Okay. Here I am. I'm gonna hit this note for you.
Surgical Extraction. This is another weird mana symbol that requires you to play black or 2 life, but you can play anything.
Mana.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Mana.
Okay. Thank you. Choose target card in your graveyard other than a basic land. Search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that card and exile them. Then that player shuffles his or her library. So we have a card somewhat similar to this in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a few cards that are like similar that come to mind. It's in their graveyard though. I think that's like the big differentiator. So we have a card called Prohibition. I guess I'll show it to you. I'm probably never going to show this to you any other time. So this card is a enchantment for all intents and purposes, and you basically name a card, and then they can't use the card essentially.
Sure.
So that's like the purpose of that. And then we have this other card. This is a very old card that hasn't seen like any play in forever. This is Nobleman of Crossout. So you target a set monster on the field and exile it, and then both you and your opponent exile all copies of that card from your deck.
Wow,
that's how that card works. Yeah, this card was in old Yu-Gi-Oh! This card is insane. This card was, I think, semi-limited, if not limited, at one point for how good it was. And he's like, he just looks badass too. So there's a few things that are like that come to mind seeing this card. They're just not like exactly it. It's cool because you can just do it on turn 0. So you can just like, you start the game, and then when you get priority at whatever point, you can just be like, okay, I'm going to Surgical Extraction. If they play something in the graveyard, you surgical extract it, and then they can't play it for like the rest of the game. That seems pretty good. The thing that's weird about these cards, though, is that like I feel like they end up often being better on paper than when they actually are played. And it could be different for Magic, but I feel like this card is good and has uses, but I don't know if it's like ban-worthy good. Because all the cards that are similar to this that I can think of have never been banned. And again, that's just our game versus your game. So for all I know, it could be banned in your game. But
dude, come on. You see their hand.
Yeah, but your game, you do that all the time. That's nothing crazy.
Sorry, just had to take a shot while I could.
I know you did. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I don't think this got banned. I think this card does see play. I think people probably side deck it, depending on like whatever matchups there are. And it probably is like okay, but I don't think it's ban worthy.
Okay.
You're trying to get me because of the hand knowledge thing. I know that's what you were doing.
I thought it would be like when I was thinking about cards to show you that like if this were in Yu-Gi-Oh would probably like light people's minds on fire. Surgical Extraction was one of them. Surgical Extraction is a really good card. The fact that it's an instant means any combo deck whose piece touches the graveyard at any point, you can go Surgical Extraction and their combo is dismantled, and you can do it for free from any deck. Again, because of the Phyrexian mana cost, you can have this in your mono green deck. That is totally a thing you can do. And surgical extraction is totally fine and has never been banned in Modern.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
It's I think these people, I think people overvalue these types of effects, and I think they're like good. Don't get me wrong, but I think people like on paper think they're way better than they actually end up playing out for one reason or another. There's just like not enough most of the time.
It is interesting because when you know that surgical extraction is a part of your best of 3 match, it's not uncommon to bring in different win cons and different ways to interact. So like I've been in those matches where it's like, okay, they have this combo. They are a combo deck. We'll call them a Blood Braid Elf combo deck. This is a bad example, actually. We'll call them a Dread Return combo deck. And I surgical extract their Dread Return. And I'm like, got them. They're dead. And then they play some 5-mana hexproof 4/4.
And you're like,
and I'm like, yep. and all my creatures are 3/3s, and I just get beaten to death by just some piece of meat that they brought into the deck from the sideboard because they expected surgical extraction. Yeah, surgical extraction is like, in a lot of ways, with the amount of combos in Modern, is kind of, in my opinion, the good guy. Like, it gives people a chance if they don't know how to adapt.
It's free. I mean, it costs 2 life, but it's basically free. Any deck can play it. Notably, Nobleman of Crossout doesn't check the hand. So there's some instances where if you like knock your opponent's set and you have that card in your hand, you don't have to exile it. So you still get to keep your copy of that instance. So sometimes that's like a strategy, or you have to be mindful of like what they exile, because if they don't exile the full 3 copies, or if it's like limited or whatever, then you know they have the other copy in their hand because it's probably good enough they're not going to sideboard it out. So there's fun mind games with Nobleman.
Sure, I totally got all that. Read this card.
Splinter Twin. This is 2 and 2 red for an enchantment aura. That means it like goes on the creature, right? It says enchant creature. Yeah, of course, reading. Enchanted creature has tap, put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield. That token has haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay. That seems potentially problematic. Do I get anything else, or is this another vacuum one?
I am curious if you can figure this one out. If you want to, ponder it for a second and then tell me if you need a lifeline.
I mean, the fact that the token has haste is very problematic in my eyes. Because that means any sort of tap effect or any, like, that, I don't know. That just seems... If it didn't have the haste, I think I wouldn't think much of it. But the fact that it does enables a lot of bullshit in my mind. So
haste is a good mechanic. It's a good skill.
I mean, well, we have it on everything in our game. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
You can show me something else, but I feel like this is like ripe for abuse just solely because of that.
Okay.
Pestermite. The guy in the background. That's hilarious. 2 and a blue for a fairy rogue. 2/1 with flash and flying. Interesting. When Pestermite comes into play, you may tap or untap target permanent. So you can Splinter Twin, copy Pestermite. Well, you Pestermite, and then you Splinter Twin the Pestermite. You can like flash Pestermite on your opponent's turn. Who cares? And then Splinter Twin... You can copy Pestermite, which brings it into play, which means you get to tap or untap target permanent, which means then you could, like, just theoretically just keep... That has haste. That comes into play. You can tap or untap something. And then the other one... I'm trying to, like, visualize how this is working in my head.
Oh, it sounds like you're right there.
Yeah, it's like I'm there. I'm just not like getting to the finish line.
It's infinite 2/1s with haste.
That's what I thought. Because you keep just duplicating them, right?
Yeah,
right. And they all have haste.
You make another one, and they all have haste, and each one untaps the one that has twin on it.
And then you just keep going and keep going. Yeah, yeah. And they have haste, so you can kill them. Yeah. That seems like a Splinter Twin problem to me. That definitely seems like a Splinter Twin problem to me. It seems pretty good, especially because you can just kill them instantly as well. It's not like you have to wait a turn. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm in. I think they banned it. I think that's, especially if it's older, I think they definitely ban this. Maybe it's like legal now, but I think they definitely ban that card. I don't know about Pestermite. Like Pestermite could potentially have like other abuse if there's other things that copy, but I don't know. Splinter Twin seems like the oppressive card. Yeah, I'll go with Splinter Twin. If it's both, so be it.
All right. So Splinter Twin is a polarizing item in Modern.
Okay, that's a way
sure.
to word this.
For sure. So Splinter Twin rose quickly to the top of the format, or at least near the top of the format. It was one of the best decks for quite a while after the format was invented, and there were people who really loved the deck and people who really hated the deck. The thing that made Splinter Twin very frustrating was, of course, that like if the opponent tapped out or tapped low and didn't have the right interaction, you could drop a Pestermite and just untap and win. And that felt like a lot of comes out of nowhere, and people were like, turn 4 combo, is that really that bad? It dies to Lightning Bolt, right? If you just have a Lightning Bolt available, they can't Splinter Twin. And there was a lot of like talk like that. But Splinter Twin actually was not banned right away.
Really? You almost got me.
In fact, from 2011, when it emerged on the scene, all the way to 2016, it was one of the most popular decks in the format. And in 2016 became one of the most controversial bans in the format because it wasn't at an overwhelming win rate. It wasn't at an overwhelming meta share. It was the epitome of a deck that was just always good, but not inherently broken in a format full of combos and broken things. But it did get banned in January 2016 to the anger of many people. And a common meme in the Magic community for the next almost decade would be unban Splinter Twin, you cowards. It was a thing that was repeated in every Pro Tour chat, in every announcement stream, everywhere on the internet.
Our
Magic
card game
related.
player's great.
Oh, they're wonderful. I love how they never let it go, do they? They're gonna put it in these comments. But they don't have to. Splinter Twin was unbanned in December. December.
They just unbanned it. Oh, wow.
They just unbanned it.
Were people excited?
Back.
Were they rejoicing in the streets?
Yes. And then they found out that there's another deck that's way more broken. That has nothing to do with Splinter Twin.
That happens, of course.
And Splinter Twin is currently considered a boomer combo.
That's funny. I love that. Yu-Gi-Oh has that all the time too. It's great.
And the Splinter Twin players, the Splinter Twin players in comments right now are a combination of delighted and outraged that I just said that.
I bet. I like that this combo actually like ends the game though, right? Like some of the combos you showed me, they like theoretically end the game because like you get like big guy or do like big thing or whatever, but you still have to like wait a turn, which is weird because your stuff doesn't have haste. Where like in Yu-Gi-Oh, when you do the big combo, like the game's just over. So I like that this actually brings like a finality to the game in that sense, where it's like it happens, the game's over, like, you know, move on.
I've got bad news, and I've got good news.
Okay.
The bad news is we've come to the end of this video.
No!
The other bad news is we only went through a handful of the cards I wanted to show you.
Modern looks great. I gotta say, Modern looks great. What's the good news?
Oh, we're going to have to do more. That's the good news. Stay tuned, Modern fans, because we're going to do it again.
Oh, man, I'm excited. This is cool.
Thank you for listening to the Covert Go podcast. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast applications like Apple, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. And you can support the sponsor of this show, CoolStuffInc.com, by using the promo code CGBPod at checkout. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. You're cool. Did you like that, cool kids? Well, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. War Thunder is available for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. Sign up using my link in the pinned comment or video description, and you'll get the massive bonus pack for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months for PC and consoles. It includes multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decoration, Eagle of Valor. That bonus pack is available for a limited time only, so act today. Click the link in the description. Do it now. Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't delay, play War Thunder today. And as always, guys, you're cool.